Hey, what's up, y'all? What's poppin'? It's D. Let's react to another Jubilee video. This is Do All Latinos Think the Same? So yeah, I've been doing these videos. Do all white people think the same? Do all black people think the same? Do all teen moms think the same? Do all women think the same? Do all men think the same? Man. You know, I'm still sick, so excuse me. But I feel like there has been some really interesting ones, so I like these videos. So let's see what they say about the Latinos. Let's watch.
What's up, good humans?
Hello.
I'm Ian.
I'm Michael.
And stick around because we're going to talk about some cool stuff at the end of the episode. In the meanwhile, enjoy.
I remember on my third day in my first school here in the U.S., this kid in the locker room was like, "So we're part of Mexico's Colombia." And I was just like...
Hopefully he was trolling you. No, some people are really ignorant. Which is fine, they just don't know. Nothing wrong with being ignorant. We all ignorant to some stuff, you know?
I celebrate
Cinco de Mayo.
I used to work at bars and I would see like people who are not Mexican completely disrespecting such an important part of the history that I'm just like, I stay away from it.
Part of why I'm so turned off by like the whole concept of how we celebrate it in the U.S. is that, you know, it was like an excuse for people to act really out of pocket and disrespectful and kind of make us feel like they were doing something special for us at the same time. And I was like, yo, I'm not even like Mexican, and this is not what the struggle is about.
I like what you said about, you know, it's kind of disrespectful, and I agree, and that's one of the big problems that I have with like other people who are Mexican American saying like, well, I don't have a problem with it, and it's like, well, one, you probably don't have any ownership of it, like it doesn't mean anything to you personally, and two, they have this concept that like, well, if more people are exposed to it, then that means that they'll accept us, and it's like, nah, that's not how that works. It's a day for me to kind of think about my own experiences and how I can teach other people.
Are they really accepting us? It's not really us.
She looks like a white Latina, and she looks like an Afro Latina.
Handlebar mustaches and eat
so this is kind of, this is very broad.
Assume I'm Mexican. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, people gonna say she's black. But you can be black
Usually
and Latino, right?
people find out that I'm Hispanic or Mexican because of my name, but it's never because of my appearance. Because I'm paler, I have blonde hair.
Yeah,
People just assume that all Mexicans are dark and shorter and like have dark hair, but the reality is like Mexicans come in all sorts of colors, just like America.
I've never gotten like, you look Mexican, even though I feel like in every Latino blog I read, it's like, people always assume I'm Mexican as a Latino, and I'm just like, well, it's not really true to me.
I only get called Mexican because of what you said. Oh, you're Latina, so you must be Mexican, you know, and then I go explain, like, you know, there's a whole continent, like, there's like many countries, and, you know, and a lot of Latinos are from the U.S., like, we're the largest minority. We didn't all just come, you know, last week. We've been here, so it's just ignorance.
I super hear that because, like, I remember on my third day in my first school here in the U.S., this kid in the locker room was like, "So we're part of Mexico's Colombia." And I was just like, so for my third world country, they teach us the effing world, but out here, apparently in like the Silicon Valley, you guys don't get a map.
I feel comfortable speaking my native language in public. 3, 2, 1, go.
Here, everyone with
That.
Oh.
Since I've moved to the Bay, I've
Hey.
had Mexican, Salvadorian, and Honduran parents and students literally act as if they don't understand me because I speak in a black Spanish vernacular. I'm just at the point where I'm just like, I'm tired of like acting as if our language is uneducated or acting as if our language is like, comes from nothing. Our language comes from literally everything.
Even though I'm not fluent in Spanish, I'm conversational, I still speak it at work, like, and all my customers, they come to me relieved, like, when they find out that I can communicate to them in Spanish. And Even though I'm not fluent, I do, however, see a little dishonor kind of when I go visit family.
Well, I mean, like, for me, in my experience, I kind of had the same thing where I grew up speaking Spanish, and then I went to school, lost it, and then I've regained it as I've gotten older. But, like, for me, I live in a fairly conservative area.
Same.
Like, people have Confederacy tattoos. It can be really intense, you know what I mean? And for me, there is still a little bit of that fear.
I love the instant affinity you have with people, especially, I'm getting a little emotional about it. Like people who have left everything to come here and they're not even seen. And when I speak to them in Spanish, I feel that they feel seen for the first time. And even though we're not from the same country, we don't have the same experiences, I just feel like I have to, and I feel so blessed that I can speak Spanish. I just hope, like,
I want to speak Spanish.
we just honor our roots, and not just Spanish, but like you said, there's a lot of native languages that we should honor and we should practice.
The word Latinx is offensive to me. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, I never heard that.
I kind of like have a bigger problem with the word Hispanic. While I'm not in love with the word Latinx, like I really do love that it's inclusive of all genders. I'm waiting for the point where there will be another term because it just doesn't sit right.
So I call myself a Latina. I'm proud to be a Latina. Now, I have very dear friends who are non-binary, and they request that I call them Latinx. Of course, I'm going to honor that, and I am glad that there is a term that they embrace, but I don't think I should have to change mine.
I think people are going to call themselves what they want, and they've been doing that forever. I think it's the fact that when we say Latino or Latina, we are excluding trans people in our language. Like, our language is powerful, and I think that I know what you're saying because I've had this conversation with like my parents and my aunts. Like, it's worth a tiny bit of discomfort to include trans people.
Spanking your child is not child.
Oh, man.
3, 2,
Why are you asking him?
1, go.
How hard?
Exactly.
How hard?
Talk about that.
Oh, man.
I think it's child abuse. I used to think that it wasn't, but I now think it is child abuse.
I am a teacher. Like, Latinos are, at least my Latino parents that I see in my schools, are so quick to like, the kid could just say something back, like finish a sentence for the parent. The parent's like, blah, dale un manoplazo en la cara. And it's like, but why though? Because I see this other kid who's white and is out here wilding.
I spanked my kids maybe twice their whole life, a little bit. It wasn't even like that much. I remember the one time my mom spanked me and it stayed with me. I don't recommend it. I'm not here like, oh, pro spanking, but I think it should be, it's somebody's right to a certain point.
I think that some of, my family members who haven't had the privileges of education and the kind of lifestyle that I have don't have that space. Because I remember when I first got to the US, like in Colombia, like we're a very violent country. And I think a lot of what we see is just that being replicated into our families. But there was a certain point where my mom was gonna smack me like that. Like I would like talk back to her and when I was like 13, I just grabbed her hand midair one time. And I was like, we're not doing it like this anymore. And I think a lot of that was coming from my American side.
Spanking to me is a tool that is easiest. It's like if they're old enough to have a conversation about what they did wrong, then have the conversation. And if they're not old enough to understand what they did wrong, then why would you hit them?
Right.
Spanking is the hardest thing to do. I agree with you, but spanking is the hardest thing to do.
I feel connected with my culture. 3, 2, 1, go.
Good for y'all.
You guys remember in the movie Selena when they're in the van and Abraham is talking to Selena, and he's saying like being Mexican American is hard. You have to be twice as Mexican for the Mexicans, twice as American for the Americans. you know, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And that's more or less where I am right now. And that's why I moved completely away from national identities. Like, that's why I don't identify as Mexican, because to Mexicans who are from Mexico, I'm not Mexican enough.
That's another thing that I also have an issue with, is just because I'm paler, I'm güera, I get thrown into that white supremacist kind of category that no one really likes. And I literally, it destroys me mentally. Like, it's just no one has the right to tell you what you are or assume what you are. And it's really just frustrating.
I really like that you bring up that point, because I think as a community, we need to do a lot of work around that, in the sense that I have noticed in my own experience how me having light skin has definitely yielded me different results, or I've been able to push different boundaries of, I've had different access.
Because we do have a lot of things in common. You know, as a people, we have, I know it's not just language, because if you don't speak Spanish, you're still going to be fully embracive of the culture. So I just love finding those commonalities between different, you know, nationalities. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
I like theirs. They seem like that was, you know, all on the same note for the most part. I mean, obviously they had different views about certain things, but I just felt like they were very cohesive in the way that they viewed their culture and just being Latino. So this is cool. I like this one a lot. I don't know much about Latinos like that. Like I said in the white people video, the video, do all white people think the same? I've never had a friend of a different race. So I am ignorant to a lot of things regarding other races. And that's one thing too that I wanted to point out when they made the comment about, yeah, people just being ignorant. I don't like that in our society we are so quick to shun other people for being ignorant. Because being ignorant just means you don't know. You just don't know. So why not educate this person so that they have that knowledge? Why look at them in disgust and be like, oh, how could you say, oh, what do you mean? Like, how could you not know that, you know, this isn't, what do you say, Colombia in Mexico or something like that? Like, how could you not know that? Like, because some people don't fucking know. Like, I think it's more ignorant to assume that every single person knows every single thing about every fucking thing. Like, that's even more ignorant to me. So to look at people and talk shit about them or shun them or try to, you know, talk down on them because they don't know something about a particular topic, that's ignorant. You're practicing ignorance yourself. Like, just understand and accept that not everybody knows everything about everything. Actually, nobody knows everything about every fucking thing. So something may be very, you know, familiar to you and very basic or common sense to you because that is your life and that is your experience, but not everybody has that same experience. Duh. So just take it as, okay, they just don't know. They just don't know. You just don't fucking know that, you know, Colombia isn't in Mexico. All right. You know, but to be like, oh my God, you're so dumb. Like, you know, just like, that's ignorant. But, and not saying that they did that, but they did have kind of an eye roll and like, oh my God, you know? And I feel like that's very common in our society to, you know, talk shit about people for not knowing shit. But anyway, this is an interesting video though. Y'all let me know what y'all thought. Let me know what other videos you want me to react to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!